Hey everyone, so today I wanted to share my Aroid collection, and for those who are not familiar with the term Aroid, that is the informal name for the Araceae family of plants. Examples of genuses that fall into the Araceae or Aroid family are philodendrons, alocasias, anthuriums, and Scindapsus. So the first plant is my Philodendron Verrucosum. If you guys haven't seen my care video, I will link it. One correction from my video is that most of my plants are in a north-facing window, but I have bay windows where the windows actually jut out a little bit, and so it gets some of that eastern sunlight, which is stronger. So this is the newest leaf that just unfurled, and it's pretty big. This one was unfurling during winter time, so I think because it was colder and the days were shorter, it probably just didn't have the energy to put out a bigger leaf. So I was worried that it would just keep on giving out these leaves, so I'm happy that this large one came out recently. The lower leaves have kind of been turning into this light green color, and I'm not sure why that's happening. I did look for pests and I didn't see any. The next plant is a Philodendron Micans. Apparently it has been renamed to a Philodendron Heteroecium. For those of you who may not know about this plant, and I think most of you probably do, this is a relatively common plant that has those really pretty velvety leaves that people really like. So if you're into those types of philodendrons but don't want to spend a lot of money, this is definitely the best option for you. When it's a newly unfurled leaf, it kind of has a little bit of a gold tinge to it, iridescent almost, and it's really pretty. Here's my Anthurium Clarinervium. I've had it for a little bit over 2 years. It's been pretty easy to care for, other than its occasional crispy edges. And during the winter, maybe because I'm overwatering it, sometimes the older leaves just turn all yellow, similar to what's happening to this leaf. So the owner of this yellow leaf is my Anthurium Crystallinum Mehani. I purchased the Anthurium Clarinervium afterwards, which is a lot more vibrant in the veining. The coloring of the leaves are really nice though when they are young and not hardened yet, like this one, which is a really young leaf, and then this guy here, which is an olive green, which is a older new leaf. I'm glad I took a video of this because I just noticed that it looks like there are some aphids on this leaf, which is pretty gross, so I'll have to take care of that. I just cut it off because I don't want to deal with that small leaf that has a bunch of bugs on it. Next is my Philodendron burlmarks fantasy. It just recently unfurled this fairly big leaf. I don't know if this is how the leaf usually looks or there's some kind of nutrient deficiency, but it kind of has this yellow tinge to it. The leaf under the 2 looks a little more normal. It still has the old leaves from when I received it, and these are the newer ones that came out. Next is my Philodendron Pastazanum. I think this was a leaf that first unfurled in my care. It was already starting to emerge when I received it, and it's pretty big. The leaves are pretty beat up when I received them, so this is one of the original leaves. Here's another new leaf. It's growing a little wonky, so hopefully I can try to trellis it to make it more compact, but right now it's really spread out. And here is the most recent leaf that unfurled, which is still hardening. It has a little tear here because I tried to help it unfurl, which we all know you shouldn't really do. But I wonder if I didn't help it, maybe it would just still be stuck. Hard to say, but I think plants can probably figure it out on their own without my help. The leaves are kind of interesting when they unfurl too. It kind of looks like it's dead, like this kind of drabby greenish brown color, but eventually it turns into that regular green color. So this philodendron is super sappy. You can see on the bottom of this leaf and on the stems. I looked it up and apparently they are called extra floral nectaries. These are nectar producing glands outside of the flowers that attract ants so that they can have a symbiotic relationship. This incentivizes ants to build nests under the plant because they can drink the nectar. I think in turn, I'm guessing the ants protect the plant from predators. Now thinking about it, after I just did the research on the extrafloral nectaries, I witnessed the symbiotic relationship, since after I just got the plant, I noticed that there was a little ant colony living in the soil. So I had to get rid of them, but I witnessed it in person. Here is my Philodendron spa Peru. I think it's also called a Philodendron Fibraecataphyllum. So I don't know what the official name is. It has these really pretty shimmery leaves that look kind of wavy. These are the juvenile form of the leaves, and when they get more mature, they have lobes. Here is my Philodendron Gloriosum. It's a little bit of a wonky grower, as you can see. This is a new leaf that's unfurling, which looks pretty good. I love how the plant has hot pink edges. The next plant is a Scindapsus Jade Satin. Like I've mentioned before, when you take a first look at it, it kind of looks like a generic green pothos, but it's actually a Scindapsus. And when you look closer, the leaves are really, really pretty. A lot of them have this crackle on them that looks amazing, and it has a specific texture to it. Some of the leaves don't come out as nicely as the ones I just showed, but as long as you have the really nice ones, it's totally worth it. The next plant is a Syngonium Chiapense. It's kind of similar to the Jade Satin Scindapsus, where if you take a quick look, it kind of looks like a generic green plant, but if you look closer, it has this really cool texture to it, almost like leather, and some of them even have a modeling of light green to it, which I think is really pretty. And the veining is also really nice. It's been a pretty easy grower for me so far. I think it came with only 2 leaves, and it's putting out new growth here. And I don't find that it needs extra humidity. It's in the room where I don't have my little mini humidifier. Here's my Scindapsus Silver Splash. It has these really pretty kind of impressionist painting splashes on the leaves. It's not doing the best. I think it had root rot, and for some reason the leaves are curling, but there are some healthy strands. Here is my Raphidophora Tetrasperma non-tissue culture. It hasn't done much for 4 months, but it finally put out some new growth, so I'm excited to see that come out. Here's my Philodendron Melanochrysum. It's so tall, I think it's about probably like almost 4 feet now. This is the newest leaf that unfurled, and the leaves are actually getting really big. I don't know if it's just because it's an older plant now, or we had a heat wave, and so while this was unfurling, it was warmer in San Francisco. So we'll have to see with the next leaf since it has cooled down a bit. Here are the oldest leaves that look like they're on their way out, but they look really pretty. Next is my Philodendron Gigas. The new leaves are absolutely beautiful. I think they're prettier than the Melanochrysum new leaves, and they are pretty similar to the Philodendron Micans, where they're really, really bronzy and shimmery. Comparing to the Melanochrysum, I think this plant is still really unique and beautiful. The shape of the leaf is a little bit different, and it has a different kind of sheen to it. It looks a little more elegant, if that makes sense, than the Melanochrysum. This is my Monstera Dubia. I was really lucky to find this at probably around half the price of the going rate now, maybe even less. I wanted to make sure that it acclimated well to my place since the newest leaf had turned yellow and fell off. So I put it in a terrarium environment, and I think it really liked it. It came out with this really long root, which I just stuck in the soil, and some other ones. And it originally didn't stick to the plank that it came with. But after it was tied with a rubber band I added, it took off and it grew these leaves that were actually a lot larger than the previous ones. Since it outgrew its original plank, I happen to have this leftover balsa wood, which is really thin wood used for arts and crafts. Like, I think people might build wooden planes out of it. So I attached it with tape to the current plank. The little tip is that if you want to guide the new vines to go towards the middle of the plank versus, you know, maybe drifting more to the left or right and then running off like this little guy over here, which I'm not sure what I want to do with it, you can use a thumbtack and push it into the wood and guide the main stem to be in the middle. It kind of warps the leaf a little bit when it's growing out, but I think it's okay after a while. Like, these guys were trained and they look fine. And eventually the vine will stick to the wood and then you can remove it. And when it gets to the next one, you can do the same. I'll have to buy some more wood since it's already outgrowing the addition I added. Here's what's left of my Philodendron El Choco Red. It's still alive. I got it in February from Equigenera and it just declined right away. I'm thinking some of the factors were it was in February and so it was still winter time and not getting as much light, and it was also colder then. And I also potted it in soil right away versus keeping it in the sphagnum moss or possibly even soaking it in water first to acclimate it. And I tried to keep it in high humidity, but that didn't work either. At least it's still alive and I think it's putting out new growth. There was a leaf that emerged from it previously, but then it died off. It's currently on a heat mat in a terrarium and I just upped the humidity a lot, so hopefully that's helping. Here is my Alocasia Clypeolata, or green shield alocasia. It looks like it's finally getting established as a plant. We'll see during winter time because sometimes it just loses all its leaves, so it might be going into dormancy. So these offshoots started forming from the base. They started to look like little green growth, like this guy right here, and I wasn't sure what they were. So they're called runners, and this part is the stolon, so it can be underground or above ground. And these parts here, I'm not sure of the official name, I was researching it, so they're either bulbils or corms, but these will turn into their own plants. I didn't do much research yet, but I saw one person post that they noticed that nothing happens to these until you detach it from the mother and plant it up. So I'll do a little more research and see what to do with these guys. Here is my Scindapsus Lucens. The seller had a good description of how it looks. It's like if a Scindapsus Jade Satin and a Monstera Siltibacana had a baby. And like I mentioned in my previous video, it has this white overcast to it, kind of ghostly, which looks really nice. I transferred it from sphagnum moss to soil, and it's doing okay so far within a humidity dome. Here is my Alocasia Baginda Dragon Scale, and it's just been hanging out in my mini IKEA greenhouse. When I took it out, I noticed that it has another new growth, which is really exciting since I thought it would be possibly a fussy plant since it's an alocasia. If you guys saw my last video, I was questioning why this particular plant was a little bit darker and less contrasted with like a dark green vein and a light green center part compared to the ones that I've seen posted in Europe, for example. And I think it's actually a different form or variety, like a darker form. I saw someone sell a more mature version of it and calling it dark form or something along those lines. So I think it is indeed a different type of Baginda Dragon Scale, which is okay because I still like it, but if the brighter green one comes up, maybe I'll try to get that. Last but not least is my giant Monstera Deliciosa. It has a bunch of aerial roots that are forming, so I just try to stick it in the soil because I don't know what else to do with it. And I feel like it's going to outgrow this gigantic pot in no time, so not sure what I want to do. Maybe you can cut back the root ball and cut some of the new growth. So that was my entire Aroid collection. If you liked it, feel free to like and subscribe if you want to see more videos. Thanks for watching.